Not 100%. I'm not 100% ready to give this as a lightning talk. This is kind of a first take. This is also kind of ancient history for me, although as you get older, ancient history that lengthens. So I did this paper at Nova during my graduate degree on the sort of evaluating VR experiences and sort of talked about heuristic evaluation, which is like rule based. Like a rule would be like, don't zoom the user all over the environment without their input because it'll make them sick. Don't spin them around in a circle because it'll make them sick. Versus empirical evaluation, which is actually user testing. I think in this lightning talk, I'm just going to focus on the heuristic because it's pretty rare that you actually can go through an IRB and do testing in most graduate programs, or maybe that's a flawed assertion, but that's kind of how the one at Nova worked. Um, so this paper, which you can find on GitHub, if I forget to link it in the comments, that's the URL. In the link it in the description. Um, so this paper leveraged a guy by the name of Randy Pausch, who was a Carnegie Mellon VR expert, who unfortunately died of pancreatic cancer about I was more than 10 years ago now. He gave an excellent talk called The Last Lecture, which I highly recommend looking for on YouTube. Um, Randy Pausch Last Lecture, um, super worth watching. So heuristics, like you could read the paper for yourself, but let's just cover a few of them. The one I said at the outset, the participant should have autonomy over movement in the virtual environment. Camera movement should be initiated by the user. And this is Palmer Luckey, who invented the Oculus leveraging Pausch, more or less. Um, Again, Lucky, gross head movements are not that desirable. So you don't really want to go from looking at 0 degrees to looking at 180 degrees in microseconds. You want to, these gross, large, obtuse movements will make people sick, depending on how VR naive they are. And VR naivety is an important concept in the sense that if this is someone's first time experiencing VR versus someone's 200th time experiencing VR, if they're brand new to it and they just want that wow factor, or if they play a game like Supernatural every day and get all of their movement gaming in VR. Um, so lag is a hardware level problem, although software does come into play there. Um, so VR has its own navigation techniques in terms of teleporting, in terms of physically walking around the environment within a guardian, in terms of redirected walking if you're lucky enough to be able to experiment with that in a large space. Breaks for users should be programmed in, absolutely. This is not all Randy Pausch. There are a bunch of other papers. User experience paradigms. So this is common to any digital product in the sense that that you need to sort of make discoverable how to use the application. And VR, it has new paradigms because it is embodied. There's a lot of movement. There's gestural. You can't just rely on WASD movement or mouse keyboard paradigms. Iconography, again, it's kind of the same argument, except here they're weaving in a little bit of simulator sickness, which is cognitive load, and that, again, see naivety. Like in an experienced VR user, that's less of a thing. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had my mom's split pea recipe on the stove. Um, this is an interesting one. Characters in VR experiences, so non-player characters, should face the user when in proximity. So you see this in Supernatural when the coach is talking to you. If you walk to the left or right side of your space, the 2D coach will turn to face you. It's a stereoscopic shader rendering, but it is a 2D plane, and that will rotate to face the user. Consistent level of detail, arguably, I guess. I'm sort of interested in mixing really sort of, you know, basic primitives and basic texturing with, you know, everything from photographic environments to, you know, just really well done game art. Text legibility is a big one. Like the new devices are much better in that regard. And then the second part of the talk, and it's meant to be a lightning talk, so I've gone on for long enough. But the second part was coding, empirical testing, based on some of those heuristics. You know, these are all VR naive people at that point. This was 2000, maybe 2015 at this point, so that's 10 years ago. Anyway, heuristics, highly recommend looking up Randy Pausch. One of those situations where I consider somebody I've never met kind of a mentor, or, you know, at least, you know, his work as a guidepost in my own work. I'm sure he's published way more than this. Sorry, he's published extensively. I mean, but he worked at Disney. You know, he's just had this amazing, although fairly short, you know, life working in immersive graphics. Anyway, that's my lightning talk. Thank you so much, and leave notes in the comments if you want me to actually present this in person. Get in touch. It'll be slightly different and a little bit more animated in person than it is on YouTube. I would love to, always looking for communities of practice, working with other people and feeding off other people's ideas, et cetera, et cetera.